All right, so in this video, we're going to keep it real and have a proper conversation about the point of tonic herbs. We're going to explore and address the question of, well, what is the point? And this is something which seems to be rather skewed and somewhat lost in our modern conversation. So the first thing that we really need to understand when we ask ourselves this question, say, well, what is the point of tonic herbs? We can also ask, well, what is the real point of yoga or qigong or meditation? Because these things are all similar in that we find ourselves in the modern world, 2014, we have access to all of these tools and technologies from many different cultures and many different contexts. But what often happens is the real foundations, the real essence of that context or that system or that ecosystem is often lost in translation. So we can ask, okay, well, what do these things have in common with tonic herbalism? Well, the point really is what? To nourish life, to nourish our vital essence, to nourish who and what we really are, or to, in other words, help guide us back to our birthright, meaning our birthright of awareness, our birthright of vitality, and leading us to a closer proximity of our genetic blueprint, or the real essence of who and what we really are. So from there, we can also understand that, well, these things are often also dealing with prevention and protection. Preventing things from happening, so identifying root causes before they necessarily blow up into something big, or dealing with things when they're small so we don't have to deal with them when they're big. And then also building up protection, so building up our immune system, building up our reserves of energy, building up our awareness and our perception so that we may recognize obstacles and then maybe be able to shift around them and thus allow ourselves better efficiency. Because if we're able to perhaps make better decisions and have a more fine-tuned rationale of awareness, perhaps then we will use our energy more efficiently and effectively. So we'll by default have more energy. We'll by default feel better. And then if we take efficiency and we combine that with intention, what do we get? Well, we get the ability and the awareness to begin to remove wasteful patterns, meaning patterns where we are wasting energy, patterns where we are leaking our energy. Because it's amazing to take herbs and do yoga and meditation and qigong and take care of yourself. But if you're fundamentally still leaking energy all over the place, then you're just trying to really overcompensate for something. So the depth of result is going to be a little bit different. So really the more balance we can find, the more balance we can find. The more efficiency we can get allows us to get even greater efficiency, especially in the combination with intention. Because yes, we can take things, we can do things physically, but we also have to be engaged mentally. We have to be engaged psychically in what we are doing. Because fundamentally, life nurtures life. Makes sense. So if we're going to take something that is going to nurture our life, then we have to really ask, well, where is the intention and where is the attention? Meaning with the way the herb is sourced, with the way it is grown, with the way it is processed, with the way it is communicated about, with the way it is sold, with the way it is consumed, and with the way in which we feel. Meaning we can take a look and understand that really not all herbs are created equal. And this comes back to the intention and the attention, meaning the intention and the attention of the consumer, you or I or whoever else is taking it, and then those things from the person who was actually distributing it or sharing it or selling it or whatever. Because really, there's many things that are prevalent in the quote-unquote marketplace today, whether it is in the herbal industry or any other industry. And we can look at it in really two distinct ways. First is really kind of this Walmart kind of mindset, where everything is lowest prices, best deals, lowest prices. And the other mindset is really this sort of just very mechanical way of looking at the world where everything is very compartmentalized. Which we can take a look at these mindsets and say, well, what is this? What intention and attention is that creating? And if you don't believe me, if you don't think or you don't see these attitudes or see any issue with them, perhaps we can take a look at the state of the modern world, the environmental devastation that has occurred and is occurring right now, the economic and social and political devastation and upheaval that's happening all over the world. See these things and perhaps see if they have a correlation with either of these mindsets, and see if perhaps maybe there is some connection. And perhaps certain mindsets reflect certain intentions and reflect where the attention is, and then that creates or informs our actions or lack thereof. So this is especially true when we're talking about nourishing life, talking about taking a supplement or an herb to augment or balance our energy in some way. So then we can ask if the company and the person representing is fundamentally coming from a mechanical or really a Walmart mindset. We can start to ask, well, what do those mindsets really have to do with nurturing life? Because we're over here, we're wanting to take an herb and do this thing because we want to nurture life. But then over here, we're viewing it in this very skewed, rigid, very unholistic, very unbalanced point of view. So we have to ask, well, do these things really go together? Do they really mesh? Do they really work together? And what I mean by mechanical mindset, perhaps in this instance, is saying, like, for example, okay, reishi has triterpenes, right? Amazing. You can do some research, say, wow, triterpenes have all these benefits to do all these things. And then you might say, well, if reishi has triterpenes, triterpenes are good. So if I get as much triterpenes as I possibly can, perhaps 90 to 100% triterpenes, and that's going to be even better than reishi. But what we didn't ask, and where the intention wasn't, and where the attention wasn't, is on reishi. Because we adopted a mechanical mindset and said, well, this mushroom is only this one thing, and this one thing does this one thing, so if I take this one thing and do this one thing, then it will do this one thing and it'll be good. And that's often devoid of sensing and feeling and really right brain sort of holistic integration. Because what was not asked is, well, triterpenes are good, yes. But what about all of the other chemicals in the plant which balance it out? What about the fact that reishi might have 300 to 400 active chemicals? So how is saying one of 300 is good? And we might also wonder, well, who else is using that mindset? Who else is following that train of thought? We might arrive at, well, mainstream pharmaceutical medicine uses that basic same mindset because most pharmaceutical drugs come from plants. They find a chemical in a plant, they isolate it, they hyperconcentrate it, and that's a drug. That's a pharmaceutical medicine, which is its own thing. I'm not saying it's good or bad, right or wrong. That's up to you to decide for yourself. Just basically illustrating really a mindset and, asking questions. Just saying, well, what does that have to do with nurturing life? Or what does that have to do with guiding us back to our birthright, to really our real blueprint of who and what we really are, and the level of awareness that comes with that. And then the natural health and vitality that flows from that place. Because that is a different kind of intention, a different level of attention. And these things are perhaps what can nurture life and what can facilitate and expand life even more. Which is why, if you notice on Hyperion Herbs, you notice on Hyperion TV, yeah, we talk about herbs because let's face it, they're amazing. I could do, not that I can do, but I have done so many hundreds of hours on just herbs. But the reality is that's not the whole picture. And the reality is herbs don't always work for everyone all the time in all situations because, frankly, nothing does. So we have to realize, well, okay, the attention and the intention can still be there, perhaps manifest in different ways. Which is why on this channel and on Hyperion Herbs and Hyperion Academy, There's many different conversations for many different contexts of life, all with the same end in mind, which is nurturing life, which is guiding us back to our original birthrights, our blueprint, and the awareness of who and what we really are, and extricating us and getting us out of the devastation caused by this Walmart kind of mindset and this sort of mechanical mindset. And no offense to Walmart, I'm not putting them down as a company or organization, because I don't really care. That's up for you to decide. It's just basically an example to illustrate the point which is relevant to this video. So again, just asking questions, having a conversation, it's up to you to think about and decide for yourself and feel out what makes sense and what's right for you. But for me, this was fun to put together, an enjoyable conversation. So hopefully it's been enjoyable for you, and I will talk to you soon.